Oh, hi, honey. You beat me home.
Hi, honey. How did the babysitting go?
Oh, not too bad. I guess I managed to get Corey back safe and sound.
Does the fact that you forgot the Lego and the diapers say anything about how your day went?
Maybe it does. He was really demanding today, kind of fussy, crying a lot. He was sucking his thumb a lot, too.
That must have been difficult. But I can't say I blame him. Have you tasted baby food lately?
I was born in Russia. I was 2 years old when the First World War started. And in 28 we came to Canada. God was with us, especially He provided for, and we never, at only 1 month that we had time where we had no flour, we had wheat, and Mother roasted the wheat or cooked it in milk. And then in 29 was our first year of farming. It was a failure right away. We seeded 600 acres and we never thrashed a bushel. So we made 2 good loads of feed. The rest was thistle and just an odd head of wheat in it. That was a very tough year. I was more worried about getting feed because then you had your feed, you could still carry on. You had your cows, you had your milk, you had your pigs, you had your chickens. So we weren't dependent on cash money so as much as today. You were more satisfied if you could make your living. Some have bought land and the loan companies foreclosed and they had the right to foreclose anytime they pleased. We had 10 and 12 miles to church, but parents had no problem of getting us to church because I guess it must have been the love of God that stressed us to go to church, and we had good fellowship. We couldn't afford skates, but we got the cheapest from Army Navy at $3 a pair. And I had the only pads I had was I was the goalkeeper, just the pads and below. I had nothing on top. I had no gloves, just used my mitts for gloves. And so we pulled the granary down there and put a stove in there and we heated it so we at least could warm up in it between time. The older I get, the more experience I get with Christ and how the love that He showed to me and so on. 1940, we got married to Maria Falkowski. She was an old school chum of mine, and we got married in 1940 and still holding together. When we think of our children today, of course, there's a lot more temptation. There's more money. The life in the 30s or in the earlier years, I miss it in one way because we were together. We needed one another.
What are you thinking about, honey?
Gas.
You're wondering what it would be like for us to have children of our own.
You guessed it. It is kind of scary.
You know what having a baby would mean? Besides getting you a whole new wardrobe, we'd have to look for a larger home.
Maybe that would be a good time to buy a house.
Yeah, we could get one of those split level deals. We own one half, the bank owns the other half.
Well, we never really looked around seriously. Maybe we could find an older home that's less expensive.
Like Bob and Sandy's. Bob said the other day the wiring is so poor that when the phone rings, the lights dim.
Okay, I want you to think of a tree. And on this tree, there is this branch. And on this branch, there is this twig. And the twig has a bud. It's springtime. Follow me? Now the little leaf sticks its tip out. From square one, it's a nervous leaf. Scared to face a new world. Well, here it is. Scared to death of what's going to happen next. Like it's never done this before, see? Well, the sun is out, and the leaf opens up. And the first thing it gets hit with is a cold breeze. Shudder, shudder. Like stepping out of a hot shower into a cold room. After all, the snow's been gone for a week or two. But the sun comes out, and the leaf gets a little bolder. Until the sun goes down, and it gets dark. And a storm comes up. Lightning. Rain. Wind. All night long, the leaf gets battered around by the storm. Until the next morning, the sun comes up, and he looks around. Everything seems to be okay. Until he starts to think about the little thin stem. That's the only thing that's holding him to the twig. That's holding him to the branch. That's holding him to the tree. What if the twig breaks? He'd fall. Okay. This tree is right beside the river. And he'd fall and fall and fall into the river, and he'd bob up and down for a while, and then get cast away down the stream and caught up into the debris on the riverbank. And there'll be no one there to help him anymore. Not the branch or the big tree trunk. And he'd probably turn a different color from the nice, rich green that he was born with to a brown or yellow, just like the other ones he saw floating down the river. What if all this would happen to him? It's so scary. Oh, bother. Why was he ever born in the first place? What's the use of being a leaf anyway?
You're right. It is scary. What if I lose my job? Or you don't get your teaching position after you graduate? We'd still have a pretty high mortgage to pay off.
Not to speak of the changes we'd have with having a family, like the responsibility, the sleepless nights, the less mobility, being more tied down. And then there's the long-term future to worry about too, like what kind of world will our children grow up into? There's a lot of things to consider. Morals, ecology, the state of the economy.
The leaf is one of the most important things on Earth. What goes on in a leaf is the cornerstone on which virtually all of life depends, either directly or indirectly. A forestry technician explains.
The basic elements carbon dioxide and water, in the presence of energy from the sun, that is sunlight, are converted to sugar and starch and oxygen. During the winter months, deciduous trees are leafless and produce no food or oxygen. As day length increases and temperatures warm, the leaf buds burst and new leaves are formed. The tree then begins to grow. In turn, the new foliage that is produced on the tree begin to produce food which sustains the tree itself and other living organisms which feed on the tree. Through the growing season, leaves create many benefits for all living things. That is, they produce food, oxygen for animals to breathe, and a home in which many organisms can live. As winter approaches, the leaf ends its work for the year. The food it has manufactured is transferred to and stored in the tree. Its mission accomplished, it prepares to drop off the tree to the ground. But even in death, the leaf provides further benefits, as it will provide food for soil organisms, fungi, and insects, and will also be decomposed to basic elements, which will be recycled into new forest growth.
And that's how it is. You take something small like a leaf and you find that it's very, very important.
Sometimes I feel like avoiding a conversation like this. It makes me feel uneasy, but then I know we have to face these things.
Babies are so cute when they're small, but what worries me is what happens when they're 14 or 16.
We faced a lot when we were kids, but I think it's a lot more difficult for them now. There's more coming at them, faster.
Society seems to put more pressure on us.
Life just isn't fun and games. Some people end up getting caught in some pretty serious binds.
Marcy was telling me about Lucas the other day. The specialists say he'll be almost like a vegetable for the rest of his life.
Oh.
It seems like such a waste.
And he had so much going for him.
Ron, have you ever thought about how close we live to the brink of not making it financially? In 2 years, even if I do find work and the cost of living keeps rising, we'll have to consider a third income.
I won't do more than mention it, but what if I lose my job? Then what would I do?
And the papers say the problems are worldwide for who knows how long.
This is getting to be a very depressing conversation. I'm sure you noticed.
The sobering thing is, it's not science fiction.
I'm torn between two things that seem equally real. On the one hand, there's the sobering things we see in the future. On the other hand, God promises to take care of his children.
Jesus died an awful death. They killed him by crucifixion, which means that they pounded nails through his hands and his feet into a wooden cross. Then they set the cross up and let him hang there until he died. To make sure that he was really dead, they stabbed him in the side with a spear. Later, when God brought him back to life again, he walked around with these marks in his hands, feet, and side. Now Thomas, one of the disciples who followed Jesus closely when he was alive, was not around when Jesus first showed himself to be alive again. As a matter of fact, he was kind of a doubter. When his friends kept telling him, "Jesus is alive! We've seen him!" he couldn't believe what he heard. "I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds in his hands and put my fingers into them," he said. Several days later, the disciples were together in a room, and this time Thomas was with them. The doors were locked, but suddenly Jesus was standing among them, greeting them. It must have been quite a surprise, especially for Thomas. Jesus took special notice of him. "Here," he said, "put your finger into my hands. Put your hand into my side. Don't be faithless any longer. Believe." What a moment for Thomas. He saw and knew that Jesus was alive. Now his doubts were gone. he had only one short comment to make. My Lord and my God.
What would we do without God's promises?
Some people think things just go on aimlessly. God set everything in motion and then just stepped aside to watch it unwind.
But he didn't step aside. The Bible tells us that even though sparrows are ordinary little birds, God takes notice when any one of them falls to the ground.
How much more will he know his people, the very crown of his creation? But it's so hard to remember that when you're bombarded by fearful things every day.
Jesus has arisen, joy and hope is given those who call upon his name. He has been exalted through the endless ages, name above all other names. No more fear of dying, no more need to doubt. Everyone shall answer, every knee shall bow. Jesus has ascended, not like he descended, in a low and humble way. He is now victorious, lifted up and glorious, now he holds his rightful place. No more fear of dying, no more need to doubt. Everyone shall answer, every knee shall bow. Jesus is returning, joy and hope is burning in the true believer's heart. King of all creation, come with celebration, may we never more depart. No more fear of dying, no more need to doubt. Everyone shall answer, every knee shall bow. No more fear of dying, no more need to doubt. Everyone shall answer, every knee shall bow.
Let's look on the bright side of things, honey. Look at us. We're healthy. We have the gift of life. We have more than we need. We live in a rich country. There's so much that we have that we can thank God for.
But even if we lost all those things, God tells us that we'd still be in his care.
When you think of the power he demonstrated in raising Jesus from the dead, that's bound to give his children hope for the future.
When we read the news, when we watch TV, when we see no end to the sins of men, to the war and greed, we can shake our heads, we can live in fear, or we can begin to change man's inhumanity. Oh, hope isn't gone where people care for people. Hope isn't gone, where Christ rules every heart. When you never win, when you're striking out, when you don't belong, everything goes wrong and you're deep in doubt. You can just give up, you can drop right out, but there's loving friends help you try again, and that's why we shout. Oh, hope isn't gone, where people care for people. Hope isn't gone, where Christ rules every heart. We can lift our heads, we can shake the fear, for we trust God's word that Christ the Lord's returning here. Join to spread the news, have the faith to see Jesus coming through as he builds a new humanity. Oh, hope isn't gone, where people care for people. Hope isn't gone, where Christ rules every heart. Hope isn't gone, where people care for people. Hope isn't gone, where Christ rules every heart. Where Christ rules every heart.
Well, honey, a boy.
A girl.
Fred?
Mary.
Sooner?
Later.
Well, let's clean up.
All right.
He's been working like that for a long time now. I think he's struggling with something. As a matter of fact, I'm sure he's struggling with something. What he needs is a break with a Third Story magazine. Just the thing for encouragement when frustration strikes. It has a lot of stories that appear on the programs, songs, things to do, and other interesting features. Something for the whole family. Write for it today. It's free. And if you'd like to tell us something about yourself and your experiences, we'd be glad to hear from you. Write to The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Help us, healing us, Lord. Help us love one another. Help us say the right word. Give us strength for each other. Give us strength for the load that we carry together along life's road. You and I get bitter when we only want the sweet. You and I are losers when we start to love defeat. You and I are cop-outs when we blame it all on God, whose loving will and purpose is greater than our thoughts. Help us helping each other. Help us healing us, Lord. Help us love one another. Help us say the right word. Give us strength for each other. Give us strength for the load that we carry together along life's road.